Hi everyone, Jordan Cram. I'm the CEO of Enstoa. I love our industry. I come from a family of architects. I worked in framing and construction since I was a teenager. In my mid-20s, I switched over to the technology side to really improve speed and efficiency. I've been at it for 25 years, and I can tell you I've never seen anything like or envisioned like what we are working with here. And so let's dig in and understand what is AI, what is generative AI, and how to make use of it. The world changed on November 30, 2022. We did not know that a company, OpenAI, which only had a few hundred employees, was working on such a groundbreaking technology. Their product, ChatGPT, hit the market, and this chart kind of says it all, that this is a chart that shows days to 100 million users. And ChatGPT reached that mark in 2 months, which of course set a record. And that was not because it was a hype. It was because that solution is crazy useful. And I mean crazy useful. So people got a hold of it and they didn't let it go and they told everybody about it. So what is generative AI? It's like a brain. It's not a human brain, but it is a technology that creates content, designs, it creates data, and it uses existing data to generate new information from outputs that it has learned through patterns and rules. It's a lot like our brain. You know, when we were toddlers, we watched people use a fork. And after a few thousand times or 10,000 times, we knew how to use a fork. We heard words. We heard words all sequenced together. And again, after tens of thousands of instances, we were able to replicate those patterns. So in that way, we can kind of relate to how this works. Hey, AI model, how do you create relevant responses? Well, what it does is it just predicts the next best word. So as I'm talking, I'm figuring out what is the right next best word to make a cohesive, comprehensive statement. So I hope that helps just a little bit demystify. You know, I'm an engineer. I like to have a little bit understanding of how things work, and that is generative AI. Uses patterns and data, generates response through essentially picking what is the best next word in a sequence. Steve Jobs was a smart guy, and he thinks it's a good idea for people to be programmers. So let's give this a spin. Who here is a programmer? Probably not many. Maybe you dabbled with it many, many, many moons ago. But here's a construction executive sitting in front of a computer screen writing Python code. And this is when I really realized the power of this solution. So let's give it a go. I last night created a prompt. I said, let me see if I can create a computer program to just output sunrise and sunset. So you can read my prompt here. I say, I'm going to give you a date, and you give back to me sunrise and sunset. So I'm going to let this roll. You see my prompt there. And now off it goes to write that program. So it finds an API, a web service that it wants to use to get the sunrise and sunset. That's the code. You know, I don't know how to write that. And in a moment here, I'll just copy that code block. I'll switch over to another program, paste it in, click run, and there we go. So it's finished writing that code. I'm copying it, moving it over to an application, saving, running it, and there it goes. It's asking me for the date. So I wanted to know that sunrise and sunset in Phoenix on June 2nd. There it was. That's crazy early, 4:58 in the morning. Just to test it again to make sure that our program works here. That's 2020, May 31. And yeah, it's got the right sunrise and sunset information. So just, you know, let's process that for a moment. It took me longer to write the instruction and to type in the inputs than it took that application to actually write the code. Think about what are the productivity opportunities now. So if somebody's good in Excel, if somebody's just good in like coming up with ideas, yeah, they can write these simple applications. So I wanted to use that as an example to show the kind of power of what it means. So what that does is that introduces massive efficiency for us. This chart is what researchers say around expected reduction in work hours. I know that's kind of hard to read. I'll just pick off, if you look in the middle of the page, there's builders, and there's a gray dot and a blue dot. The blue dot shows the increase of productivity upon the release of generative AI. So essentially on that day, late 2022, there was a 6% bump in what efficiencies could be expected in builders. And this is by 2030. Now I'm very confident that these statistics are way too conservative. So the question is 30% right by 2030? Is it 40%? Is it 60%? Is it 80%? Is it 95%? It's really high. It's way more than 30%. Probably not 95%. But if you take the sum of all the work hours in your department and you apply this ratio, you can get an idea of how much capacity you are going to have access to by beginning this process. And you may be asking these really, really important questions. Do I need to hire anymore? I don't think you do. Which jobs go first? Well, we'll talk about this in a moment. And I want to say this is not about obsolescence or people losing their jobs. It's about opportunity. We'll talk to that. You may be wondering, what advice do I give my kids? I've got 2 teenagers. I think about this all the time. What does society look like when most people don't need to work? These are really big problems or opportunities. Is it my job to solve these things? Well, we're leaders. I think the answer to the question is yes. So kind of processing all that, we're like, you need to know what can we do? Where should we go? How do we react? Because we've been involved in a lot of crises, right? It's kind of defined our careers. And this is one that we want to be ready for. Let's kind of get our house in order, be ready for this, because this will have a large impact. No, we're leaders, we don't quit, but I understand the temptation because we've got to do a massive amount of reinvention here. I mean, a reinvention like we've not even conceived of before. So this is something we may be kicking around. Let me give an example of the impact with 3 scenarios, 3 companies. So company 1, the blue, company 2, the orange, and company 3, the green. And this is just a theoretical model, but what it shows is the impact of first mover advantage. You know that where the organization that moves first secures the most advantages and has a perpetual or a significant competitive advantage over others. So what this chart is saying is that let's say you begin the process of implementing these technologies in your organization, you get faster a month after you implemented them. And the rate of speed increases as well. So I like the train analogy, like a train that goes down a track. And for each mile of track, it's sped up. It increased precision and quality. So 100 miles of track later, that train is moving way faster, more precise, higher level of quality than a train that just started. You can never catch it. And so that's company 2 that we have there. So winner takes all. Company 2 strategy is I hope company 1 stumbles because I cannot catch them. And company 3 is I got no chance. So starting soon is really critical. And that's what we're going to move to now, are 5 steps on how to do that. What should I do to prepare my org? Great question. I'm glad you asked. There are 5, so let's review those. I'm going in reverse order here, starting with number 5, data. So let's use the concept of structured data. This is what you have in your project system, your space, your BIM, your engineering systems. That data is, if you've invested in it, if you've got it, you should thank yourself. You're going to be very glad that you've got that. If you don't have it, hurry up and get it. And this data also needs to be accurate. You know, people need to trust the data. They got to make important decisions on it. We tend to over-collect. Well, we need to purge that. We need to be very lean, collect only what you need, and data needs to be fresh. So this is number one. This is kind of basic housekeeping. Get that data ready to go, the structured data. Generative AI has unlocked a very exciting set of information for us, unstructured data. These are the boring documents, the PDFs, the 250-page contracts, the lease abstracts, the owner's manuals, you know, that are sitting in a folder somewhere. Well, that information is now extraordinarily useful, and I think of this information as free gold. You got to sift it a little, you got to pan it, but this information indicates where your organization has been, where you are, and where you're going. You've got it today, but you're not really leveraging it. And so coming up with ways to organize it, prune it, and most importantly, that second bullet, get it ready for a machine to read it, because those documents were designed for humans to consume. Well, we need to get them ready for machines to consume. This is not a big effort, but I just want to make sure it's on your radar that you've got a real valuable asset in this kind of information, so get ready to exploit it, use it. Okay, number three, now we're going to shift into HR, kind of HR strategy as it relates to AI. You need a hiring plan. You need a hiring plan for agents. The best way, I think, to process this is to use the employment construct. Use the idea that you've got a person. Now, it can be an agent, it can be a human. They've got a job to do. They have responsibilities. They need a mentor. And in my case, in our company, we created about 18, now 20 of these agents. We give them names, we give them email addresses, we give them responsibilities, we assign mentors, we have a lot of fun with it. But I think that just extending that HR model that we use is a very good one. So that's number three, hiring plan for agents. Again, we're counting down here. So next up is human integration. I have assimilation there at the top because, of course, the first thing people are going to do is be fearful. Now, I think we've got to we don't have time to be fearful, honestly. It's a burn the boats moment. We got to go, and we got to go now. And we are creating so much capacity and spare time for people to position and do other things. So I just think it's best that we kind of put fear aside, get everybody focused on assimilating with these new agents, and be ready in your tiers and your levels to come up with new means for compensation. That's what I mean by share the wealth. You know, historically we've been kind of time-based, right? Tenure-based. Well, with these efficiency numbers that we're talking about, and we've been hearing throughout this conference, you know, we got to rework all those complex HR systems. Those take time, right? Those policies take time. So tackle those head on. Now down to the fifth item, or number one here on the leadership prioritization, skills. So there are some skills in this integrated human AI organizational construct that are crazy important, like being detailed oriented. You know, computers are binary. They're accurate or they're inaccurate. It's a 1 or it's a 0. So individuals, and we're sort of analog, kind of fuzzy. But being detailed oriented, dotting I's, crossing T's is really valuable. I just kind of highlight that as an example. Those are good people to have in your org. Committed to the vision, very important. You need people really bought in because we want people to embrace, not resist. Functional knowledge. I kind of think that AI was written by old people for old people. So this is not so much a young person's game. Functional knowledge is very crucial because that's what creates memory for the AI, and you have those people. So again, I've just kind of called out a few skills there that in this world are really important. Now, on your way back, or maybe that later this week or the weekend, start sketching out an org chart and start to integrate those AI agents. So there's a boss, and every boss needs a pal. And whatever your departments look like with these different functions, incorporating an agent or two within them. That you'll have somebody who's in construction, an agent that is very good at information retrieval. You don't have to waste time sifting through an email or clicking through a dashboard to get at information or getting details in the specification or what are the payment terms in that particular contract. You've got an agent who's just really good at doing that, and it does it 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and never gets tired. And these are jobs that humans are not particularly good at, but the agents are really good at. And I think that's the main thing that you want to use. There is a lot of, we tend to over-delegate in general to people, and in this case to technology. So we kind of think like, oh, let the AI agent do like scenario planning or strategic scenarios for me. I think we just need to give them the donkey work. Like the donkey work that is that AI can do really, really well and really fast. So kind of use that as an example to think, where do I have tedious work? Where do I have highly repetitive work? And re-sketch the organizational chart accordingly. Bringing it all together, you have that unstructured data that we talked about, the structured data, the AI roster that you're thinking about, and then your human team. And start the process. Because when you start thinking about it, you have started the process. When you start kind of looking at where you would onboard one of these agents, you've started the process. And that's kind of what I was saying in that first example company. And that can be that you're getting your unstructured data ready. You're going in and really evaluating, hey, do we have the right structured data? Are we over-collecting? Is it fresh? Is it accurate? Just by asking those questions, you have started the process. And so with that, this is thank you in binary. I appreciate your time, and I hope that you have a few solid takeaways there, and that we get this change started.